Hey guys, I hope everybody's having a fantastic day. Whether you're watching this in the morning, in the afternoon, or in the evening, I'm glad you're here. Before I get started, I want to take a quick shout out and thank the channel members. Thank all you guys. I appreciate you so much. And anyone who comes through to check out my knife and EDC content, it means a lot to me. I appreciate you. If you're so inclined and you'd like to be updated when things happen on the channel, I would love it if you'd hit that subscribe button and that bell notification icon. It would further help me out and I would really appreciate it. So I've been going through my collection, and as we do as knife collectors, we change things up quite a bit, right? We'll have things come and things go and different types of knives in our collection. At least I have. And so what I wanted to do is kind of categorize and look at the top 10 full size or the largest knives in my collection, right? So these are going to be as close to 10 as I can get. So it'll be right around 10. This Hinder Eclipse is probably going to be the smallest in this collection, that or the ProTech Strider SNG. Both of these knives I consider full-size knives, but we'll say, because I've probably gone over 10, that these are very big knives in my collection that I like very, very much. This is right here, this SNG that I came across in a trade. Brother Paul Mills. I absolutely love this knife. And they are definitely full-size knives. But we will start, just to keep it on the real, with the Spartan Harsey SHR, the full-size Spartan Harsey. I originally picked up the 3 1/4 inch Plague Doctor Harsey because I love the Plague Doctor theme. It's something that somehow spoke to me when they first came out. That knife became available, and I think I picked it up DLT or GP Knives, one of those guys. But then, alas, about 3 weeks later, I saw this MagnaCut full-size SHR drop. And I would never held a full-size Spartan Harsey before, but I loved the small one. I knew it was a little small, and I thought this might be Hinder sized. I was pleasantly surprised that this knife is quite a bit larger than, let's just look at it next to the Eclipse, which was the largest Hinder that I had. It's a good bit longer than the Hinders, which makes sense because this is a 4-inch blade. So we will say the first one that's going to come in on my large list of knives that I really love that are currently in my collection is going to be the Spartan Harsey SHR with the Plague Doctor motif, if that's what you want to call it, Plague Doctor design. And it is in MagnaCut, and it is a huge favorite of mine. And it's a more recent knife, but it still is one of the bigger knives. So moving on, we come to a knife that is one of my first knives, or my first, I would say, one of the first titanium knives that I ever purchased, one of the first high-end knives that I ever purchased, and this is the Kaiser Critical. It is a, Matthew Christensen design, I think is who it is. I don't want to space that. I picked up the one in thumb studs. It's S35 VN. It is a very large, hulky knife. I want to say I think it's got right around a 4-inch blade as well. It's this Wharncliffe. I love I wish, speed holes aren't my thing, but this is clean at least, so it's kind of got clean speed holes. I wish that it was solid titanium with some milling inside, but for this knife, when it first came out, I thought it was one of the coolest knives I'd seen, being new in the collection, and now that I've had it in my collection for over 2 years, I still feel the same way. It's just a badass knife. I had the Kaiser MIDI Critical when they came out in a couple of configurations, which I've given away on Friday Night Flicks, but I kept this guy in the collection because this is kind of what started it all for me, in the big knife and the titanium knife. So this is the Kaiser Critical in titanium S35 VN. So moving on, we come to my biggest current button lock, and a button lock that I think is probably one of the best button locks or plunge locks in my collection. This is the Maxa Babylon V1. The Maxa Babylon V1 is a plunge lock. It's got thumb studs. It's got a deployment slot that's very well cut in, so you've got some nice edges there, whether you go for the hole, which is a small pill-shaped hole that you're not going to slide your finger through. You've got this really sick looking M390 blade, Babylon 2021 stamped there on the blade. I don't know if that's when it was made, but you've got these titanium scales that have weight relief done very well. You've got this nice light blue back spacer that matches the thumb stud. You've got this satin grind on the blade. You've got button lock action that is just the sounds it makes. Just a great knife. A big knife, a knife that I wish I carried more. I don't carry it as much as I probably should, but I've got a lot of knives. But I respect it and I love it, and it'll stay in my collection for that very reason. But this is the Maxa OG Babylon, and it is going to be on my top 10 hulky knives. So moving on, we come to another made in America, like our Spartan Harsey or our Hinderer knife. And this is a knife that really surprised me this year, that I didn't expect to like as much as I did. I think I bought it because it was available. I had reviewed and tried the MSI. My brother A to Z EDC let me bring that in and check it out. I was not impressed with the detent. I was not impressed with the ram lock. I was not impressed with the sharp edges on the bottom side of the MSI. But when I got the stitch, it resolved almost every bit of that in terms of ergonomic excellence. I still feel the clip. You can't help but feel that clip in the middle of your hand. But mine, I'd ordered the G10, and the box was labeled aluminum when it came in. So I got the upgraded stitch with the aluminum scales that are done exceptionally well. I've played with the G10. My buddy A to Z has it, and they feel different. The aluminum just seems to have less resistance. To me, it feels cooler and smoother in the hand. I love the stone-washed blade with the satin flats there. You've got the Microtech logo and the Borka logo. Borka blades, I've always thought their blades were sick, very sexy. This is in M390 MK. I don't know, that's the Microsoft or Microtech. I always say Microsoft. Microtech, and I think Bowler's custom tweaking of M390. I don't know if it's better, if it's worse. Doesn't really affect me because unfortunately I don't use knives as hard as I should. But it does have a reversible clip. It does say stitch on the clip. Clip doesn't bother me in looks. It is a little sharp. I do wish it was somehow toned down. But for what this knife's for me, it's a gee-whiz piece. It's a self-defense piece, Slurpee saver piece, and just a great heavy user cutter. But this is the Microtech aluminum stitch. I'm a big fan. Moving on, we come to a knife that is, I want to say the Tucson TS 246, maybe the TS 247. This knife was a knife that I always loved because of its simplistic design. It was a hulky knife, full backspacer, titanium, nice engineered lanyard loop if that's something you're into, a clip that goes in and out of your pocket. It came with a little doodad that you can screw through here, and it makes it more of a fixed blade. I guess it locks that blade in place. It's on washers. And then this one got the Satu Dave treatment, which means when I sent it out to him, he was doing some work, practicing on some grinds, and he reground this for me. I know I haven't been cutting paper because that wasn't the purpose of the big hulking knife video. But guys, this is a big hulking knife that has the Satu Dave grind, which we'll see a couple of more of those in this video. That's just proof that craftsmanship and reworking what was just a really hard use, thick blade. Dave preserved the tip to where it's still thick and meaty. And look at how beautifully that grind is done. And not only that, I was expecting it to come back with, you know, grind lines. He matched the blade. That's why it doesn't, you can't see the Tucson in there anymore, which is fine with me. I love this knife. I haven't carried it much or played with it to get it good and broken back in because it is on washers. But the choil, the neutral ergonomics of this knife make it just an absolute beast. And I love it. It's a Tucson. It's got the Satu touch, and it is definitely one of my faves. So as we move on, we come to another big knife in my collection that has one of my favorite locking systems. And this is the Cold Steel 8015. You guys know I'm a big Demko fan. I like the shark lock. I like the, you know, triad lock. I love the scorpion lock. This was also sent to my brother, Satu Dave. And I won't cut paper on every time, guys. These knives with these Satu regrinds are just freaking unfreaking believable. Anywho, I digress. But if you look at that, it's S35VN, and it's been hollow ground out with the very left the tip, very piercing, very stiff, almost has a Spanto look there. I love the scorpion lock. A lot of people don't really like the scorpion lock. I got it early on, and I used to cut myself with this knife, learning to use it more than any of my other knives. But I've really, and I haven't handled it in quite a while, as you can tell, but I really like the scorpion lock. It's overbuilt, and it's just a beast, and it had to be on this top 10 list. So we will move on. This is a knife that also surprised me in its size. This is the Wu Neefus. The Wu Neefus, I think I've told you guys, I first saw on Brother Neef's channel, and I just fell in love with the look. I did not expect it to be A, so big, and B, so thin and slicey. This knife, guys, is, and I'm totally going against what I said I would do. I didn't cut in the beginning of the video, and now I'm cutting, and I apologize. But this Neefus is one of those knives that is just big, but elegant in its action. Whether you use that deployment hole, whether you use this low profile flipper, it's got a beautifully constructed lock bar. Great action. 20 CV blade steel, if I'm not mistaken. Fantastic finger choil. Great pocket clip. The Wu Neefus is a winner, and it's one of my bigger knives. So moving on, we come to one of my faves. This is the Wu Padre. It is what I consider, for my hand, a full-size knife, kind of a beast of a knife for me, for what I kept in my collection. I love it. I love the shape of it. I love the ergos of it. I love the action. I love the front flipper, and I don't like front flippers. I love the stonewashed blade, and I love the textured diamond tie handle. I love the clip, goes in and out of pocket great. I loved it at first because it reminded me of another big knife in my collection that I recently acquired. The CKF Rotten Evo. Now, if you look at these knives side by side, I see a lot of differences in the knife. But in a large knife that I love, the Padre is definitely one of them. This knife, guys, took my knife collection to an entirely different level. So I love knives. I love knives that I don't necessarily need, but this Evo 3.0 is a knife that has always spoken to me. It's probably one of the sexiest knives that I've ever seen. And this particular configuration with Pro X bills, custom scales, the way that I came to acquire this knife through the kindness, generosity of a brother willing to part with it, Carco, and let me buy it. I love it. It is a full-size knife. It is a big knife. It's one of the larger knives in my collection, but it will always be cherished, and it is the Custom Knife Factory Rotten Designs Evo 3.0 in M390. Just a beautiful knife. Moving on, we come to the Cold Steel 8010 that uses the triad lock. Now this one has not been reground by Brother Satu, not yet. It's still a very slicey knife, so don't let its thickness fool you, because this knife is a great camper, it's a great hiker, it's a great, if you like carrying big ass knives. It's got drop shut action. I put my finger all the way up to the front because when I push that triad lock, it falls. I can reverse finger flick it even though I just failed it. I have to put my finger up front so that the choil will hit it. It's drop shutty to the point of where it'll cut you if you have your finger too low in that in this choil. Like if I held my finger right there and pushed it, it would cut my finger deeply. So I have to keep my finger up towards the front so that it hits on the choil. But the Cold Steel 8010 has probably one of the strongest locks in the game with the triad lock. It is G10. It's got a pop steep carry clip on it, S35VN, and an absolute chonk of a knife. Moving on, it would only be natural to go one step larger than the 8010, which would be the Cold Steel 4MAX. So to me, these knives are very reminiscent of each other. The differences lie in the overall size and heft of this knife, but then this knife also has the brilliant, wonderful, amazing Satu Dave reground blade. That's cutter air. Love this knife. I use it as my size comparison knife because the Cold Steel 4MAX is probably my biggest knife. I've got one knife that I think is bigger. We'll see if it's actually longer, but I consider it a bigger knife. The Cold Steel 4MAX G10 S35VN reground by Brother Satu. Did an amazing job, and it makes this knife just irreplaceable to me. I mean, it does. It makes it where I know I'll keep it in my collection. It'll always be my size comparison knife. I'm putting it back over there now, and I'm going to get to what I think is my biggest knife in my collection. That is the PMP Tanto. So it might not be as long as the 4 Max, but I can assure you it's got the most blade steel, it's got the thickest liners, it's got the thwackiest action, it's got the largest stop pin, it's got, I mean, a chopping blade, we could say. I mean, it's a flat ground shovel, folding shovel maybe. Maybe a frying pan, a portable frying pan if you were going to fry an egg. But believe it or not, it cuts. The front, which is much thicker, cuts. So it is definitely, I don't know if I just had all that off camera. I was showing you how the front cuts. But it is this blunt Tanto that has just a massive detent ball, has massive scales, has massive hardware, has a massive, a massive M390 blade, the biggest knife I think I've ever owned, and one of the most ridiculously fun. So guys, that is the PMP Tanto. That is my current largest knives in my collection. Were there 10? Were there 12? Were there 11? I don't exactly know, but I wanted to share them with you guys. I appreciate each and every one of you. As I sign off, I'm just going to lay a few of them out here. But guys, I appreciate everything you guys have done this year. I'm thankful for all of you and how you've helped me as, I guess, a YouTube channel guy. The way you guys have supported me, the way you guys come out for my live streams, the way you guys watch my videos, all of it's humbling, all of it's appreciated. And that's why I want to continue to come up with knives in my collection that you guys might find interesting, grouping them in different ways, bringing out some old ones that don't get as much love anymore. I'm thinking of ways to really do that and kind of reinvent the content. But I appreciate you guys being patient with me. I appreciate your views. I appreciate your kindness and just love each and every one of you. All I always ask is please look out for the guy or gal to your left. Please look out for the guy or gal to your right. Please look out for each other. Go forward with love in your heart. And always choose debate, not hate. I love you all. Peace.